Hello, folks, it's Jock. Welcome to Short Grass, your Kildare Nationalist sports podcast. I'm Pat Costello. We're flying on three wheels this week, if you can fly on wheels, because we have Ger McNally and Tommy O'Connell. We're a man short, but I'm sure we'll manage, lads. It was a good week for the south of the county, but let's start by having a look at the fact that a number of Kildare players were recognised last weekend, of course, including Alex Byrne for Player of the Year for the Tailteann Cup and Cian Bourne for the Joe McDonagh. Ger, no surprise there really, but great to see them recognised.
Yeah, absolutely fabulous for Kildare to have that double, and of course Naas to have that double as well. Yeah, really proud for everyone involved. I don't think it's done before since since these awards have been introduced. There's been no double like that for a county in the way that Alex and Cian have done there for Kildare. So yeah, fabulous for both individuals, of course, as well, and thoroughly deserved. I think Alex kind of nearly was picked long before the final, and then his goal in Croke Park just wrapped that up, and certainly very well deserved as well. And Cian Bourne, he's just racked up so many different accolades through the year, going right back to the start of the year when he was on the Fitzgibbon Cup Team of the Year. But no, what a season he's had, and just thoroughly deserved recognition. And of course, all the other players who are involved, I think it was 12 in total that we've spoken about previously, named on the McDonagh and Tailteann Cup Teams of the Year, all very deserved. And there's probably a couple more that were felt a little bit aggrieved, and in particular one that we'll talk about who was probably overlooked as well for the intermediate man of the match as well, Colin Dalton, who was definitely worthy of kind of consideration. But there's a couple of other guys, but any of them that did get them, very well deserved. And Cian and Alex in particular, congratulations from thoroughly deserved awards.
Yeah, it was a great night in Croke Park last Friday night, and good night for the Bourne family, Tommy, because that's all three of the players now, Ryan, Conan and Cian now with awards. So of course, Ryan and Cian getting the Joe McDonagh, and the previous time it was Ryan and Conan getting the championship, which was due to the Christy Ring at that stage. So a good night for the Bourne brothers and family.
Yeah, there's something else, in fairness. Like you see over the years, like they constantly appear. And then last year you could see the way Eadstown performed in the senior football championship with those guys' absolute spine at the team as well. So what athletes they are. And I'm presuming Tom is the next version coming off the factory line that was involved in ACBS, or is he related to them?
I think he's a cousin.
Cousin, yeah. Sorry.
CJ is the other, but there is another brother, isn't there? CJ, I think.
There is another brother,
CJ, There was definitely another one coming, but I just saw Tom's name the other day, so cousin there. It really is. I mean, when you have athletes like that, dual athletes, like we are very lucky in this county. Like we saw there actually when we spoke about near the end of the when the hurling championships are coming to an end, and we noticed Broadford, the dual players they have, and a lot of people probably wouldn't think of that because we're talking so much about the Naas and the Minutes and these kind of teams that would have a couple of dual players.
Kappa the same.
Kappa, now that's like another great example.
Yeah.
Toby McMorland there and a couple of lads. It is. I just think it's great to see, and we see around the country as well. Some of the teams are involved in county finals. Like I think Clonmel Calahi and a few of these, like they have a lot of dual players. It's just it is. I think it's great. It's a great kind of a GA thing as well when you see these lads are able to adapt to both sports. I mean, Cian Bourne, if he decided to pick up the big ball, he could have been a starter, in that Tailteann Cup this year because he's a fantastic footballer as well. As obviously is Ryan as well. So yeah, great stuff.
If any of the three decided to give up the GA and take up the association football, I'm sure they'd be very good at that too. Indeed, yeah. Anyway, lads, for the last 4 years, the Lily White land was a sea of blue. From Sunday, it's a sea of red, and Athy are county champions for 2025. They beat Naas on a scoreline of 117 to 18 points. All I can say, lads, it was a great game, and I was looking at a replay coming up to the 59th minute. What do you think, Ger?
Coming on strong in the last kind of 10 minutes. It certainly was looking that way. But first off, just congratulations to both teams for putting on a show. And obviously these days with your fantastic commentary, Pat, on Clubber and obviously in KFM, I mean that they are spread around the world and there's people kind of watching, I'm sure, all over the globe. And it was just such great advertisement for Kildare football, first of all. And both sides gave it absolutely everything, as you probably would expect in a senior county final. And ultimately, it was Athy who held on. They were holding their breaths, I'm sure, when Ryan Sinky was swinging his boot at that last potential equalising 2-point shot. But once that flew past the post, it was just great scenes from Athy. They obviously won in 2020. It was just a total different feel altogether in 2020 when it was eerily quiet in St. Conleth's Park with barely 200 people there. So, yeah, it was fantastic for them, and obviously something that meant a huge amount to them. But probably over the course of the game, I don't think anybody would argue that Athy were the deserving winners. Yes, Naas put up a real fight in the final quarter, as you would expect from a side who were 4 in a row champions, and they certainly didn't go out very easily and hand over their crown very easily at all. But Athy were able to withstand that late charge and see it out over the line. And Athy had some wonderful performers, and I think we were speaking last week, and we said that Athy would have to go maybe to a level that they haven't gone certainly this year, and maybe for a number of years. And you go to a final and you have Barry Kelly, for one, probably if he's had a better game in an Athy jersey, I haven't seen it anyway. Certainly, I think that was the best I've ever seen Barry Kelly play. You have someone like maybe Cathal McCarron, who, again, going back to his past with Tyrone, probably had better games in bigger county games, but in an Athy jersey, I've never seen him play better. So if you have a couple of players like that, there's another Sean Moore maybe as well, playing at an elite level as well. So when you have 3 or 4 guys like that playing at the very top level, and then you just have the solid consistency then, as usual, of the likes of Feely, Highland, Niall Kelly, I mean, yeah, it's a recipe for a very good performance. And ultimately, yeah, despite that late rally by Naas, I think Athy were deserving champions and deserving winners.
Tommy, there were 2 turning points in the game for me. One was the 24th minute with the aforementioned Barry Kelly's goal, and the second, I think it was around the 37th minute when Cathal McCarron came in and drew the sides level again, and they I suppose Athy took on from there for a 10-minute spell and went in 115 to 12 points coming into the last, I suppose, 8 or 9 minutes of the game.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, there are a lot of big moments. You're right there. In fairness, like Pat, they are like 2 of the standout moments. After 4 minutes of this match, I mean, everybody was just thinking, "Oh my God, Alex Burns after putting over 2 2-pointers." Athy just looked like they haven't come out of the dressing room. I was just thinking, God, it could be a blowout. We're the 5 points to 1 up, and
yep.
You're thinking, God, like Alex has just got run right, and Corwin and Sinky haven't even got going yet. And Athy just gathered themselves, calmed everything down. All the experienced lads, just got a hold of the ball a little bit. And
but thinking of experience, it was Sean Moore who started it off. He came from the back and scored a point, and then Barry Kelly got the second one, and all of a sudden they were coming back into the game. But it still didn't look at 7-3. It didn't look like it was going to turn around the way it did. Actually, the goal really was the turning point of the game.
Yeah, but leading up to that as well, that it wasn't, as we know, obviously it wasn't just the goal that launched Barry into the match. From the very start, he was absolutely hammered. And we have to remember as well, like, you think back to all the discussions we've had this year, lads, for Team of the Week, and Barry's been on a lot of them. He's been on a few teams of the week, but he's also been on a few shortlists. And it's funny because, like, I saw him in a few matches, and you're thinking Barry was probably the best player on that field. And you're kind of thinking, like, you're looking around, you're looking, I know Colin Moore, like, was scoring well, and obviously Feely in the middle, and all the lads, the Spillans are doing really well. But Barry really, so for him to turn up, he was bouncing. You could see before when the national anthem finished, he was the one immediately. He turned to the line of players, and he was the one, punching the air, say, "Come on, let's do it." And he scored the goal. He gave it to the crowd. He's slapping the badge. I think it was at the first point he scored. He was screaming in the faces of the Naas. Like, that's what he does anyway. We know that. Everybody knows that. That's what Barry does. But you do it in a final, and you try to drag everybody with you. It was just like, but there was that moment, and then other Athy lads started. Suddenly they were winning 50-50 balls, or winning dirty balls. They were blocking down Dara or Corwin or Ryan Stinky. They were Brian Steins, wasn't getting the joy running through the middle that maybe, like, he was getting early on, and things just started to turn. And Athy seemed taller. They just seemed like they really believed. Coming up to half time, I was thinking, I said it to a man beside me. Funnily enough, I don't know if he listens to the podcast. I've seen this man at a good few games this year, and he passionately shouts for both teams. In every game. It's the strangest thing, but I said it, I asked it, I always kind of mention to him, and he goes, "I'm a Kildare fan, and I just I want a good game." But, like, he'd be screaming, "Go on, Dara, go on, Dara." And then if Colin McCarron was breaking out, "Go on, McCarron, go on, McCarron." It was great to listen to. But yeah, but then to kick on then, like, the way they did in the second half, and so many like of those little moments, the Naas wides, the block downs, the fast breaking from the back, the Niall Kelly swinging over that wonderful point from just inside the arc. I mean, very important, Pat. If you look at that graphic there now on the screen, just for people obviously that are listening and can't see it, it's the score with the scores underneath it. What do you notice about the Athy scores?
I can't see them here. Better get my glasses on. You better explain.
There no 2 pointers.
Yeah.
No 2 pointers on the Athy scoring list. So obviously we know about Alex's 2 2-pointers, 2 2-point frees. They were fantastic, as they always are for him. Athy scored 117 in the modern game against the best Kildare club team for the last 4 years, and they didn't need a 2-pointer to beat them, to hit the 20-point mark. And the conditions, there was a wind, and it meant a lot, that wind as well, in certain circumstances, especially near the end with Naas, that we'll discuss Naas possibly taking on a free or not taking on a free. But yeah, it was a great spectacle. It was brilliant. It was great to have nice weather. The crowd seemed bigger because the weather was nicer and people seemed in better form, and the smoke bombs were going off. Brilliant spectacle.
Yeah, at 1-7 to 9 points at halftime, Ger, Naas looked to be in a very good position, and then 3 minutes in the second half, they got 12 points to 1-8 up in front, and it looked like it could be their day. But I suppose the next 10 minutes were the ones that won the game in particular, with 7 points in a row from Athy, including a brilliant one, wasn't it, at that stage, from Kevin Feely, I think the one that rounded it off around the 47-minute fetch and turn pirouette, knocked it over. That was a brilliant point. But 7 points at that particular stage, you might say, was in the third quarter, coming into the fourth quarter, 10 minutes left or so. That was really the winning of the game for Athy, and that's usually when Athy would win Naas would win games.
Yeah, it looked like Naas had regrouped well after the halftime break, because coming into the halftime break, Athy didn't want the halftime whistle, because the aftermath of that Barry Kelly goal, they scored 3 points in a row, and Naas were showing signs of pressure. Then there was a couple of kickouts, I think, went straight back to Athy or even out over the sideline. And although I think Ryan Sinky got the very last point of the half, the last kick of the game, the last kick of the half, that just kind of broke that run of scores. But Athy had built up a real head of steam going into the halftime break. They came out then and got a point straight from the throw-in, led to a free from Niall Kelly, but it looked as if Naas had kind of regrouped well. They got 3 points in a row, and whatever was said in the dressing room at halftime looked like it had the desired effect, and Athy were on the ropes again at that stage. But yeah, to answer back with that kind of run of 7 points was sensational, and yeah, it was the winning of the game. But I thought McCarron was, imperious through that spell, where, a guy who's nearly 38 years of age started pulling out this trick of a dummy solo and skipping past players. At one stage, he tempted Paddy McDermott, I think it was, into a challenge on the halfway line, and just skipped around past him. He was absolutely phenomenal. We spoke to him afterwards, and he kind of said, he's a couple of weeks away from turning 38, and he was throwing off the shackles and playing like it was potentially the last big game of his career, and he was great. But yeah, that score by Feely then as well, like that was such a good fetch on the edge of the square, and how many times have we seen that down through the years? Kevin Feely sneaking into that position in the full forward role, really, and Niall Kelly with that diagonal ball in towards him, and yeah, it was Athy playing all the hits at that stage. But like that put them 6 points ahead, and again kind of set them towards what was looking at that stage, going into the final 10 minutes, a pretty comfortable win if you could have that in the county final. But that was never likely, and Naas came on so strong in that final quarter. But probably the big thing was Athy were able to keep at least one of that lethal inside 3-man forward line quiet. Porting Spillane did such a fantastic job to keep Derek Kerwin scoreless. You would have got very long odds on Derek Kerwin not scoring in the county final before the game. And although Ryan Sinky and Alex Byrne did everything in their power to kind of drag Naas towards a fifth title in a row, Dara just couldn't get on the scoreboard. He just had so much attention from Porting Spillane, and he was involved in some of the scores, Dara Kerwin. I mean, it wasn't as if he wasn't involved in some of the scores that Naas scored, but just couldn't score himself. And I suppose if you shut down one of that three, you give yourself an opportunity. And yeah, in such a tight game, maybe that was just what tilted the game towards the tie.
Yeah, and Tommy, the introduction of the Hannafin brothers in the last 10 minutes or so, that gave a new impetus to Naas. They came back at it, and Alex Byrne with another 2-pointer, Ryan Sinky, but 2 single scores by Brian Marr kept the scoreboard ticking over. And even though Alex Byrne had a late point, and as we talk about the free, but Naas proved that they are great 4-time champions and would have been worthy 5-time champions as well. But Athy won the day and won it well.
Yeah, and near the end of the match, when it got back to 2 points, I mean, there aren't too many people that would have been in that stadium that would have been thinking anything other than, oh yeah, Naas, there's going to be a replay here. It just, Naas had all the momentum. I was looking at who David Hyland, I think, was chasing one of the Naas guys up underneath me in the terrace, and I was just looking at David's face, and I was looking at a few of them thinking, geez, are they feeling terror right now? Because it looks like Naas are going to come back. They've done everything in their power. I was trying to think in my head, if Naas nick this, if Naas win it, what would that do to Athy? What would that do to other teams? Like, Athy played the majority of the football in that final. They really did. And they played the best football we've seen them play for a couple of years. But then if Naas were able to nick it, or if Naas were even able to get a replay, regroup themselves and come back again, I don't know what that would do for the Athy team. But for the way you're talking about telling moments, Pat, I thought, and I said it to the guy again, the other side of me this time in the terrace. I thought the most telling moment was Alex Byrne was starting to make hay running through the middle. He got a bit more confidence. He was going through. He got through at one stage, and he was starting to break through a couple of times now, and he was getting sight of goal. And we know how good Alex is finishing off both feet. And he broke the first tackle around the D, and he made it in. And then there were 3 Athy lads around him. Now, sometimes that doesn't even bother Alex because he's an absolute specimen. He's huge when he's running with the ball. But the Athy lads were in him, and the fist was going in. They were clawing. Suddenly, the ball popped out. It popped out, and one of the Athy defenders was gone.
Yeah,
and Alex,
that was Mars' first point, I think. Yeah,
it very rarely happens, Alex Byrne, that the ball is popped out or prized away from because he's so strong. But I thought that moment was huge because Naas had gone to a good period of possession, and as you say, Mar had gone up the other end then and scored a point from that break.
Is it too easy to say, Jared, one of the, I suppose, winnings of the game for Athy were the fact that they prevented Naas from scoring a goal, and when they score a goal, a second one or third one could come in?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, again, going back to the Spillans, Michael on the edge of the square, just Sean Moore contributed at both ends. But yeah, they were so determined, as Tommy was saying there. It's so disciplined as well. And again, if you go back to Tommy's point about totting up the scores, considering what 18 of those points, there's 4 2-pointers in it. So you're talking about only 14 scores against the Naas side who carry the threat that they do. It was an outstanding defensive performance, and again, I suppose they've had a bit of a reshuffle. James McGrath missed a couple of games; he was excellent. Spillane himself had missed a game. They've had to change goalkeepers through, so it hasn't just been an easy passage through the championship. And fielding the same defenders, they've had to juggle around, but their defenders all cause a real threat as well. If you think back to the goal, albeit it's not the best shot in the world from Darren Lawler, it's a shot from a defender that ends up breaking for Barry Kelly. I think within the first 10-15 minutes, Sean Moore had scored, Colin McCarran had a shot, James McGrath sent the pass through to Niall Kelly that ended with Niall hitting the foot of the post. So as well as being rock solid defensively, they had players who really came forward. And again, just to touch on the scores again, 5 points from the back line from Moore and McCarran. That's an outstanding contribution. And again, you throw in James McGrath with creating a key goal scoring opportunity. So they got a real impact at both ends of the field. And again, probably the best of a lot of them, Porteous Plan keeping Derek Irwin scoreless. So that's a phenomenal defensive effort. And once you put that sort of hard work at that end of the field in, then you give yourself a real chance when you have the talent up front to do, and the likes of Barry Kelly having the game of his life as well. So yeah, all round it was an excellent display from kind of 1 to 15, and even the couple of lads that come on there in the end to kind of see the game out too.
And Tommy,
McCarran hadn't scored before the final. It's very rare at this stage of championship, be it semi-final or final, that I have to physically type a new name into the spreadsheet for the top scorers. And I was going through the Athy, and I was like, where is Colin? I can't find, and he wasn't on it. His first scores this championship were the 3 points in the final, and he was fantastic.
But he's had a good season. He's had a good season, and it's a good season. I was just about to say it, Tommy, for the joint management team of Rossi and Conor Ronan as well. This time last year they were in charge of the second team. Now they're in charge of the county champions. So it's a good season for the joint managers. Great
season for the joint managers, and I mean, there's a lot to be said for obviously hiring in-house that know the lads. Like I can think of guys that I looked up to when I was younger playing, that if they ended up managing me, I'd die with my boots on for them, because you know them all your life and you're looking at them playing, you're playing with them. They're really likable lads as well, well known around Athy. But take all that away from it, tactically, I mean, they got it spot on, because it was spoken at length that Naas gave up the kick out in the semi-final against Selbridge. And that was a big thing. I mean, it was spoken on other national podcasts. This was this unbelievable thing that they did, and they said they give up the kick out and let Selbridge take a shot and come at them. So Naas did it again in the final. They give up the kickouts. And they give up the kickouts because Athy are so good in the middle of the field. And what did Shane Jackman do in the Athy goals? He went long. He said, I have 3 full backs in front of me because Naas have given up the kick out. I don't care. I'm going to go long because I have Kevin Feely in the middle. I have David Hyland in the middle. I'm going to kick the ball right down the throat of the Naas midfield. Let's see how they get on with it. So Athy called their bluff and just buried it up the middle every time. And if they weren't winning ball in the air, they were mauling them on the ground. James McGrath, I spoke to somebody that was at that match that doesn't know too much about Kildare football or Kildare club football, but he does know football. And he said that young man, McGrath, he said is some animal when he gets the ball. He said he's just a pure powerhouse. He couldn't believe how old he was.
You begin to sound like Enda Kenny with all these people you talk to. I met a man yesterday who said,
again, Pat, the value of the terrace.
The value of the terrace. So there was no weeding done last Sunday. You were too busy.
The place was immaculate. Didn't happen.
Ger, I suppose you could say it's a challenging season or half a season for Philly McMahon. He came in, they were defending county champions, but he went on. They won the league, came back after they looked like they were beaten by Sarsfield in the league, but they came back and won that, and everybody still had them as their champions in 2025. Probably a little bit of a blip for the defeat by Sarsfield in the final group stages of the league, but still the way they performed in the knockout, in the group stages of the championship, in the knockout stages of the championship, they came good again, and they were still firm favourites. But it was a challenging year, a difficult year for a rookie manager, even though he's hugely experienced as a player in Philly McMahon.
Yeah, I had a story up on the website there during the week on the Kildare Nationalist just about what maybe the fallout might be for both teams. And like looking back over it, the first thing to say is that this is not the end of a dynasty by any means for Naas. I mean, they've lost the game there by 2 points. They will absolutely be back next year. Like Joe Murphy won a county final by 2 points and 1 point, and as a hero, and outside of Naas, then people are looking at Philly McMahon as a bit of a failure because he's lost by 2 points. It's just the finest of margins that separates being a hero and being not quite there on county final day. But like Naas have had a lot to happen in the last 12 months. Going right back to they lost a very, very highly rated coach, Kevin Downs, out of their setup last year, and by all accounts he is absolutely top level when it comes to coaching. And not only that, but he had developed a real partnership with Joe Murphy in terms of Kevin did the coaching on the field and Joe oversaw it all, and they were a fantastic partnership. And his kind of departure left a real void there for Naas to fill. There was obviously that kind of misguided and controversial chase after Rory Gallagher that brought national headlines as well on the club, and obviously a letter from the GAA president and everything else. Then, Joe Murphy's departure, I mean, that had to have an impact on the team. I mean, no matter what had happened, and the departure of Downs maybe had unsettled Joe a little bit or whatever else, but it was still only that set of circumstances that would have led to Joe Murphy's departure, that Carlow opportunity arising, and Joe took that at short notice. And then, it was 2.5 months pretty much. They were very, very close by all accounts to appointing the management duo who enjoyed success with Clucoo there down at the weekend. They were very, very far down the path of appointing those two as Joe Murphy's replacement. That didn't happen then in the end. So it was 2.5 months then after Murphy's departure by the time that Philly McMahon came in. So that was a long time, and there was only a couple of league games left in the league final. So really, Philly McMahon had very, very little opportunity to get to know the players, and that sort of that position, would be a real challenge for even the most experienced manager. And it reminds somebody who was probably trying to learn the ropes himself, albeit he was guided by the likes of Padraig Cribben, Kevin Martin, and Martin Sweeney there, who were great Naas men in the background as well to help him along. So yeah, it was a really tough task for Philly McMahon. And although Naas are 4 in a row champions and they have so much playing resources there, that's still a difficult situation for anybody to get into, to be in the middle of the season, try to get to know that squad, get to know every player's strengths and weaknesses and what sort of position, what sort of role suits every player. It's a huge amount of work to get through with not a lot of time and with a lot of important games. So it was a tricky situation. Ultimately, Naas fell short by 2 points. Again, you can look at it, they're not champions anymore. So pretty black and white. Maybe you can say Philly McMahon is a failure, but, they went so close and had Ryan Sinky shot at the last kick of the game, sailed through the posts. I think we'd all be saying Naas are probably favourites for the replay for the reasons that Tommy went through there earlier on. So they were so close, but ultimately, that's not close enough. They have failed. They've came up short, and it'll be very interesting to see how Naas progress from here now. Did they stick or twist with Philly? Only those inside the club who've got a real kind of feeling and understanding of how Philly has worked with the players. The players themselves obviously would have an opinion, I'm sure, and on how things have gone over the last couple of months. But it's far from being a disaster. They are still very much. They were very much there right at the end of the game, and it'll be interesting to see how they progress here. Will they see the positives of giving Philly McMahon a full pre-season to work with the team and can he bring them on from there? But their next steps are going to be fascinating to watch.
Yeah, and
Philly's
finally
Philly's on a 3-year contract.
Yeah. And finally then, Tommy, Naas were great champions, 4 in a row champions. Athy are going to be good champions for the next year anyway, at least, I would expect.
Of course they are, yeah. Well, I mean, we're always very proud in Kildare, no matter whoever comes out. The finals of junior, intermediate, and senior, it's very visceral. It's all very kind of, especially in those teams from around like that area around the bog of Allen there, and those teams come out and the community comes together. But we are, and now there might be some people that want Athy to fail going forward because that's just the way the world is. But the whole of Kildare will get behind our county champions when they go against Bottomless, and that's the way it always is. It's just the way we would have all expected Naas to give Leinster a real rattle. There's no reason why we can't expect Athy to give it a real rattle, considering how they performed last week.
Absolutely. Top scorers, that went the Naas way in the end. Colin Moran just couldn't catch Alex Byrne because of those fantastic scores in that game. Some brilliant 2-pointers.
Yeah, it was. So Alex was 4 ahead of Colin going into that game. So Colin needed to score 5 basically, and Alex not score. It was Alex's shooting power. It was never really going to happen unless Colin had one of these worldy matches where he scored a few goals. Obviously Alex scored 10 points the weekend, moved him to 343, 52 points. Absolutely fantastic. But you have to give it to Colin as well there with that 523 for such a young man. Pushing him all the way. A few others obviously to pick out there. Aaron Brown. I mean, Aaron was top scorer last year. He hit 132 again this year. People are always, debating about Aaron over the last few years, whether he should be in the Kildare panel or whether he shouldn't be. Aaron can only do what he can do on the field. There's a lot of pressure on that young man's shoulders for the last couple of years. And there's a huge expectation from people that look at Celbridge and, if Aaron Brown wants to play county, he has to perform for Celbridge. He's a very young man. It was only a couple of years ago where he was captain that under-20s team. So he did it again this year in the championship, and obviously they fell short. I put it up on the post earlier, I have to put a big shout out to Owen Cully, who finished second on the scores from play chart behind Alex. But Carberry's season has been over a long time, and he scored that 123 from play in 4 games. And by all accounts, he's tearing it up for Maynooth at the moment as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Owen's progression over the next year.
Absolutely. And it's good to see that young man, Daniel Flynn, then there at the bottom of the scores from play. 3 goals and 5 points. And he was injured for most of the championship as well. So 3-5 from Daniel. That's not a bad return for a fella that decided to put his feet up after 10 years or 12 years now at this stage.
He held on the way if you see those bottom 4 with the 14 points, I think there's about 10 people that are on 13 below, and those guys just can't snake in. So Daniel had got up to that 14 points, and he's held on. But just to get in, it is very unfortunate. I might publish the full list or send it to people, because people need to realize even in the overall, the 2 guys on 17, Dara and Shane, I think they're about 12 on 16. Names that people would know as well. So this is, as I always say, this is a snippet of the scorer charts. But there's some guys in there have had a brilliant season. I'm always delighted when I hear good feedback, as in like people are delighted to see their name on it. Or Podge Fogarty said on a podcast there a while ago when he was playing, he said he was talking to what's your man, the goalkeeper that went and over did then it was Jackman from Wicklow. Jackson from Mark Jackson. Yeah. And he was saying, he was like, Podge was like, I think it's deadly. Suddenly you see your name on the top of scorers chart. You just go to the next day and I'll kick a few more points. And so it's just a bit of crack, but I know people enjoy looking at this kind of stuff. So it's good crack to put together.
Well, Tommy has got together a little memento of the season for all of the players who are top scorers. So well done to Alex on Alex Byrne being top scorer, both as from overall scores and from play as well. And well done to everybody who appears in that chart and everybody who got through the championship. The championship, lads, maybe you throw up that graphic of the story so far. Apart from Athy, who won the championship, who will be most pleased with their form this year? Obviously, I suppose Carrow will be very happy. Johnstown Bridge will be quite happy too, Ger.
Yeah, I'd say Carrow, to be honest, Pat. To go up from intermediate to senior level, it's a massive jump. They give it a right rattle against Raheens, their local rivals in the preliminary stages. Had a fantastic group stage, winning their 3 games, and then gave Athy, who, of course, as we mentioned, have obviously gone on to win the senior championship. They gave them a right rattle as well in the quarterfinals. So, Mikey Brown, I don't think he could have got much more out of his side this year, and we look forward to seeing how they can progress now in the coming seasons. Their profile is young enough that they say have improvements still to come in them. So yeah, definitely I look forward to seeing Carroll, and I think they had an absolutely fantastic championship. The first time they've been in the senior championship for 20 odd years. So yeah, for them to have that good a year, I think they were outside of Athy. I picked them as the kind of the team of the championship.
Okay, and Tommy, obviously Confi will be disappointed they were relegated, but who else might be disappointed with their season? Selbridge, Clane, Maynooth, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, the first name I was going to put out would be Raheens. I just think that they're great football people out there, out that direction, and they were disappointed in. Like I don't help the situation every year. I always build them up because of that fantastic minor team they had a few years ago. And there's so many names when you look at a Raheens starting 15, and you look and think, Jesus, if they ever click, they really are good. The disappointment comes from they shipped some beatings. They really did. They got over Cara. They just about got over Cara. In the first round, Cara gave them a good rattle in that preliminary round. But I mean, look at the scores there. Like Sarsfield's gave them a trim, and Naas, they never bothered Naas at all. And then Maynooth put 12 to 10 points, and then their season was over. So that's the season over. Drift off. Another year gone from the lads. They have to look forward to next year. They'll have new management next year. They're still a very young squad. So there's something to look forward from that side. I think as kind of the championship progressed, I actually think that Eadstown will be quite satisfied with how their championship. At the start, there was serious alarm bells going off. Now, looking back to the Athy, when Athy gave them a right beat that day, I mean, we were all raving about Athy as possibly being up at number 2. Remember that? When we had them at number 2. And then we put them back after Selbridge beat them. But I think we were right, lads. We knew what we were doing. But look, I think Eadstown, the way they just settled everything down in the losers group after losing the first match to Cara. Important win over Carberry, important win over Confi. They went in then, and it was probably the worst game of the season, Johnstown Bridge and Eadstown. But at the same time, they got into that preliminary quarterfinal. They can just, look at that. They got to the knockouts. Maybe it wasn't as bad as it could have been, as it can get very hairy in those losers groups. So yeah.
So that's it.
Doesn't it just, sorry, Pat, just to jump in there before we move on, just doesn't it show again maybe the need for a restructuring of the championship as well? And I'm sure we will have time to chat about that in the future. But we're saying that Carla had maybe the team of the championship. Tommy's saying Raheens one of the most disappointing teams. Imagine if that results in the preliminary round was reversed and Raheens went into that Group D and had possibly a chance to build some confidence against some of the weaker sides, rather than going into a Group B and facing Naas and Sarsfield and having a real difficult tie there, and vice versa. How would Carlisle have got on in that Group B if they'd have beaten Raheens in the opening round? So yeah, when that kind of happens again, it maybe just throws up that there is definitely a need for a bit of a restructuring and another look at the structures within the championship. Obviously the games were fantastic, that the players have given us wonderful entertainment. Clubber has been a great addition to the coverage that we already have throughout the local media as well. But yeah, I think everybody agrees it's probably time to sit down and maybe have a look at doing something slightly different in terms of the structures.
And we will have our look at that in the coming weeks and months as well. So that's our look at the 2025 Joe Mallon Motors Senior Football Championship, and the county champions are Athy. Congratulations to them. Congratulations to Naas for making it such a great final as well, indeed, for the last 4 years as champions. And best of luck to everybody in 2026. Okay, we had a great intermediate championship as well, and I think that one went as we had predicted probably all the way through that it probably would be Salons in the final. Larry's could get to the final as well, but Tommy, I think everybody expected Salons to win this year.
Yeah, they did, and well, everybody thought everybody thought all year that Salons are the best team in the intermediate championship. They have been for the last couple of years in people's eyes, but can they do it? That was the question. Can they get over the quarterfinal? Can they get over the semi-final? Can they actually get to a final, which they hadn't been in since 2003? You know, just to get that hoodoo off their back and actually get to a final. So can they do it? But they needed to prove to people. They needed to prove to themselves. Listen, they said this in the interview after the games as well. Management team, players, they all said, you know, it was in their heads. They knew they had to get it done this year. But again, even when the final came around, could they do it? That was the talk going into the stadium that night. Even, you know, people who were talking to me as they're walking around the stand, they were all just chatting away. And it's like, yeah, Salons are favourites and they're probably a better team. But if they're not on it, I think I said last week on the pod, things would have to go wrong for Salons. They would have to do something wrong, and then Larry's would have to be absolutely on it to take advantage of that, because any little bit of weakness. The first thing I said on the podcast was last week, or anytime I spoke to somebody, was you stop Salons on the D if they have the wind, because they did it against Milltown. They made hay with the wind in the first half, and then they absolutely defended like animals in the second half, so the opposition didn't get a shot. So when I went in, the wind was going to the corner. I spoke to John Kwan on the way in. The wind was going to the far corner, between the town end and the terrace. It was going up into that corner. So
unusual.
I said to myself,
unusual.
It was unusual.
Yeah.
And I think it was Noel McKenna, actually. It was Noel. Noel said to me on Sunday as well that the wind all weekend was blowing in different ways than it normally would be in Newbridge. But I was saying that I could see Keane Grimes drifting to the left of the D because it was suited for him as a right foot kicker, and then to, you know, cut across the ball to use the wind. So surely Larry's, you know, will stop him doing that, shut them down for 5 or 10 minutes. It took Keane 19 seconds to drift out to the left, get the ball, score a 2-pointer. 19 seconds into the match, and there wasn't a Larry's lad within 4 or 5 yards of him. And that was 19 seconds in, and the alarm bells are ringing already.
Yeah, but having said that, Ger, even at the O'Larrys were behind at half time, you couldn't say that, look, they're out of this game, because the breeze, as Tommy was saying there, was quite considerable.
Probably kind of for the neutral, or, you know, for hoping for a close game, we probably needed St. Lawrence's to have the wind in the first half and maybe see what sort of a lead they could build up. But yeah, in the opening 15 minutes, you know, I was thinking that the game could be over. I was getting really kind of worried that it could be an absolute hammering altogether for Larry's. But in fairness, you know, the second quarter through the latter stages of the first half, they really did dig in, and I think it was 4 points apiece kind of for the second 15 minutes of the first half. And yeah, they were in touch going in at the halftime break, and Salons then had opportunities early in the second half, and I think they kicked the first 3 wides, and then Lawrence has got a point as well with the wind. And I think Jonathan Daniels said, Salons' manager, said afterwards that he was a little bit worried at that stage. But even though Salons didn't get those early scores in the second half, they just were controlling possession so well, and they took the kind of wind out of the game really as a factor, because they just dominated possession. They didn't allow St. Lawrence's many opportunities at all, because they were dominating the ball, but still had a purpose as well. It wasn't just kind of endless possession without a kind of a shot at the end of it. So yeah, in the end, it was an excellent, impressive win. And I mean, I don't think it's ever been done, or, you know, I'm open to reaction, but for a team to win all their championship games, all 7 championship games by double-digit scores is, you know, unbelievable. Particularly in the intermediate championship, which has always been considered one of the most tightly contested championships. It's only happened, I think, maybe 2 or 3 times in the last since the turn of the century that a team has won a final by a double-digit score. I think Kilcock gave Ballymore a bit of a trimming there a couple of years ago, but in general, the finals are tight. The semi-finals certainly are tight for Sallins to skate through the way they have. And now that you can kind of sit back and look at the championship as an overall, kind of get an overall view of it, every game you're going through, you're thinking, can Sallins keep doing this? Can they, answer all the questions that the opposition are going to pose to them? They've answered absolutely everything. The most dominant championship victory that certainly anyone can remember, and probably that we'll see for a long, long time. They're a sensational team.
Tommy, they still needed that goal to be sure.
Yeah, I suppose that was unfortunate as well. The wind did play a part. From my view, again, the wind seemed to kill the ball, didn't it? In the air, it kind of caught the keeper off guard a little bit, because it looked like he thought maybe I just have to try fist it over, but then suddenly it was dropping a little bit. And who was it? McConnell. Yes, McConnell was it? Nobody knew who it was who got a touch. But I think Larry's there. But Larry's as well. They did stay at it in the second half.
In fairness.
I mean, Senan Murphy not starting, presumably injured. Oisin Grufferty not starting, presumably injured.
He made a difference. He made a difference when he came in.
Yeah, I mean, the two of them are former Kildare current and past Kildare under 20 players, minor players. Super special. Like Oisin's running is. I'm really looking forward. I wanted to see him let loose. I wanted to see him in the final. He's a fantastic player. Even said like Joe Hanemy take nothing from him, but like he got his 2 points. He threw himself around absolutely everywhere. He looked like he was carrying an injury. Eventually, his body gave up on him. TJ Nolan never stopped in the middle either. Niall Clinch was just doing what Niall does, and he has done for the past 23 years, just threw his body on the line. Larry's have a very young kind of overall age bracket in the squad. They are quite young, so I'm sure they'll be back. We all know how rare it is, lads, to bounce straight back up. They probably surprised a lot of people getting to the final, so they look forward with confidence to next year.
If we look at the overall picture then of the Intermediate Championship, National Electrical Wholesalers Intermediate Championship, Tommy, if you can pull that one up, who will be, obviously Sallins will be very, very happy. Larry's will be happy, I guess, as well. Who will be happy as well? Milltown probably will be happy enough that they did quite well. And maybe Ellistown, maybe that they didn't do too bad, Ger.
Yeah, I'd say I throw Suncroft in there as well. They did very well, and for half a game there against the Lawrences, I think that game was level at half time, or maybe only a point or two in it. So I think they've done well. Two-Man House, I think they did pretty well. Obviously to get to a semi-final, we spoke to Peter Kelly there. He was on KFM with us last weekend at the senior final, and he was disappointed with their semi-final performance. But I suppose the way they regrouped after a couple of defeats early on, even he himself said they were at one stage they were kind of half concerned about relegation. So to have found a way through to a semi-final, I think they certainly pulled their socks up and did well too. But overall, I'd say a lot of teams will be happy just to see the back of Sallins, and looking through the sides that are remaining there, it could be certainly a kind of typical and trademark Intermediate Championship next year, because there's about 6 or 7 teams there, and Comfy obviously coming down as well, that have very, very little to choose between them, and it's going to be a hugely tightly contested championship next year, I think.
Disappointment for a number of teams. Leaks probably will be the top of that pile there again. Maybe Towers, maybe obviously St. Kevin's. They had a difficult year, even though they were close on a number of occasions. Monastrevin, Ballyteague, probably Leaks were the most disappointed team, I'm sure.
I'd say Rathangan possibly well. Sorry, Tommy, we're going to jump in there, but Rathangan. Again, probably not the best performance in the quarterfinal for the side who got to a semi-final the previous year and had looked very good through the group stages. I think for them, again, not even the fact that they lost, but just the fact that they kind of played so far below their best in a knockout tie. I think Rathangan probably will be feeling a little bit disappointed with the way their championship ended up, particularly when at one stage it looked so promising. But obviously St. Kevin's, I don't think we would have picked St. Kevin's out at the start of the championship to be a side relegated. So they'll have to kind of regroup obviously in junior football, but they certainly are capable of bouncing back then too.
Yeah, Milltown will be quite happy, I'm sure, Tommy as well. But going back to that game, Milltown Leakslip, Leakslip looked like they had it won, and then Milltown came back, and they had some great players this year, Milltown.
Yeah, I mean, Milltown, for the second year in a row, they had a great season after coming up from junior. League slip will be disappointing again, losing by such a tight margin. Obviously lost the final last year in terrible conditions, and then losing that quarter final this year. I know a good few people up in league slip. I hope it doesn't bother them too much that they're losing by. So I think was it Seamus Dillon said lads during the week that he met somebody coming out of the stadium, and they said to him, "Thank God Salins are gone from the Intermediate Championship." I'm pretty sure Seamus said that. I think he might have said it on KFM as well the other morning, actually. But this is going to be, it's going to be competitive championship again next year. League slip have good depth to their squad. They're a very, very good side. They have some brilliant forwards, good experience there. Losing to Milltown is going to hurt. Milltown can obviously take it on as well. The young players they have, the performances they put in. No shame them going down to Salins because everybody else, went down to Salins. The manner that they did and how they didn't manage it. By the way, that final was very similar to that semi-final. The way it played out, it was first half. Salins had the wind, took the initiative, scored their points. Second half, defended like dogs, made sure the other team didn't get their hands on the ball. That was the same as the semi-final against Milltown. So just kind of pointing that out. But just to echo what Ger said, I was actually going to say about Rathangan. I think Rathangan might miss the trick there now this year. They ran into Didier Cordonier inspired boot that day. But they would have looked at that route through there now, and I think they would have fancied themselves possibly to take Larry's and go into a final. And I think Rathangan, with a bit of momentum behind them, might have been a different proposition for Salins. I think they'll be disappointed. Round Towers will be disappointed. Round Towers will absolutely be disappointed. They never looked like contenders this year in my eyes, and they were very disappointing in that preliminary quarterfinal against 2 Mile House. So Towers need to shake themselves for next year. They need to start well. They need to get a good league campaign. They have really good young players coming through, and they need to really focus on this intermediate next year and just, I don't know, they just need something. They need something extra in there. I like Round Towers. I like them as a club. They have a lot of good players. I like the attitude they bring to games. Just want to shake them sometimes, saying you're better than you think you are. Maybe let's get going.
Here's your prediction for 2026 National Electrical Wholesalers Intermediate Football Championship preliminary round. First team out, Confi. Second team out, League Slip. So Confi versus League Slip in the first round of the National Electrical Wholesalers Championship of Intermediate Championship of 2025. That's the prediction now, lads. Go to the betting office, put it on. Tommy, do you have the top scorers in the National Electrical Wholesalers Intermediate Football Championship? I forgot to throw them up there.
I do.
Sorry for that. There we go. And the winner, Fionn Downey of Suncroft. So it was a good year for Suncroft. So Fionn Downey topping it there. 49 points. And where did he come in relation to scores from play? I just don't see his name there.
20.
On that.
Just there.
20.
Himself and Owen Lawless beside each other.
Yeah.
But Suncroft, Milltown, similar colours all beside each other there. So
three Salins players in the top 5 there of the overall scorers.
Yeah, and James Dalton started like a train in the championship. And again, I think we said this on the podcast, lads, that defenders now are suddenly going to be looking really closely at James, and he's going to be tightly marked. He was scoring some wonderful goals, and he's such a classy player. Colm then was starting to become the man as the games went on. Keane Grimes missed the game as well through suspension and still finished third in both, if you see, overall and from play. Keane had an absolutely wonderful year. What a boot that kid has! It's serious. But Fionn Dowling, again, Fionn was top a couple of years ago, I think, as well. But absolutely fantastic, his performances from a really good year from Suncroft as well. So, and Sam Savage, shout out to Sam as well, who was pushing him there all year.
Absolutely. And James Dalton, top scorer from play as well. That's some return there, 620. That would have been over about 6 matches in total.
Yeah, but he didn't score. He didn't score in the final. He only scored a point in the semi-final, right. I think. He scored a goal in the point in the semi-final. So he did a lot of his scoring early, but he got some really vital scores. So yeah, absolutely brilliant.
I think Colm Dalton's there as a special mention as well, because he was just incredible, this championship. I think we will be asked kind of our thoughts about different players in the championship, I'm sure, at some stage, but I think to say Colm as the intermediate player will probably be the easiest decision we have to make. Again, he probably unfortunately, we said not to get on that Tottenham Cup team of the year. He was probably unfortunate not to be man of the match there in the intermediate final. I think it was a bit of a coin toss between himself and Darragh Mangan, and we spoke to Darragh Mangan afterwards, and there was no one more disgusted at Darragh Mangan getting man of the match than Darragh Mangan himself, because he said it was Colm Dalton's award all the way. So he was in absolutely no doubt about who should have got the man of the match, and he said, in fact, that he was man of the match in every game Sands have played this year, certainly in the championship anyway. And, yeah, just a fantastic performance, and just so fantastic for a young man like that to come back off his first inter-county season. Obviously, it would have been tough on the body to have played at that elite level for the first time, and for him just to hit the ground running with his club and carried him the way through. And obviously comes from a staunch GAA family, a huge kind of family tree involved in Kildare GAA going back generations. And yeah, he's certainly one that we're going to enjoy watching in the Leinster Championship in the near future, but for many years to come, and Sands and Kildare colours as well.
Yeah, and it's great to see Gavin Keating of Castledermot, Jack Barrett of Leixlip, who was John Tracy of Straff, and Chris Healy of Two Mile House, all doing the business, even though they're approaching the other side of 30 at this stage, but they're still doing the business from a scoring point of view. And if they ever hang up the boots, then their teams will suffer accordingly, I'm sure. But there will be new players coming in. So that's our look there at the National Electric Wholesalers Intermediate Football Championship. Do you have the graphic there for the overall graphic for the story for the Tom Cross Transport Championship? There we are. That's it. Obviously, Grange were the winners. They defeated Rathcoffey. I suppose overall Grange will be the happiest team because they are champions. Who would be the most disappointed? Ballymore Eustace, maybe Rathcoffey, Kill. Sure.
Out to our junior football expert there, but yeah, I suppose Kill obviously missing out, and then I suppose losing in the Junior A semi-final. At least Robertstown, when they went into that Junior A championship, that they got the consolation prize of winning that championship. Ballykelly, I think they'll have great memories of that semi-final win over Kill in that Junior A championship. That really was a special win for them. But yeah, you'd have to take your hat off to Grange as well, because I suppose little bit like Sands in the intermediate championship, that they've had the frustrations of banging their head against the ceiling for the last couple of years, so that they finally break through and get that championship win. It's the first win, I think, in the club since 2005. Sands their first win since 2003. So fantastic times for both of those clubs, and I think they're above the average county champions, if that makes sense. I think both of them are kind of really outstanding champions on two sides, so I think they're going to represent Kildare really, really well in the Leinster Championships. And yeah, I don't think their ambition should stop just at Leinster as well. That they will have to focus on Leinster and get through Leinster, but it's very, very difficult. But Kildare teams have a dreadful run, I suppose, or dreadful record in All-Ireland semi-finals, considering how often we've done well in the Leinster Championship, the various different Leinster Championships. But I think both of those sides have serious potential to extend their seasons right to the very end. So I look forward to watching both of them.
Tommy Kappa and Castle Mitchell, they obviously can be happy enough with their season.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There's so many teams there in this championship that can really, take a lot of confidence in. I mean, Castle Mitchell probably came in quietly into the championship as well. I mean, last year they did quite well, but these championships depend a lot on the way the groups are drawn, and I don't know what the solution is to that. I mean, last year Ellistown and Robertstown kind of coasted through into the knockouts. They weren't really challenged because of the imbalance in the group. But then you had Grange and all these lads thrown into the same group. Well, probably wasn't to the same extent this year. Like we saw how Group B came right down to it. I mean, Robertstown ended up in Junior Championship. They could have easily ended up in a quarter-final or a semi-final because the football they were playing had just come down to that last match of the group stages as well. But Kill will be disappointed this year. I think Kildangan might be a little bit disappointed when they came back. Their tails were up after doing so well in the Intermediate Reserve Championship last year, winning that. And coming back in this year, the most important thing is that they are back. That's huge for them. And just to kind of get the young, there's really, really young team in Kildangan. So get minutes into those legs, get a season into the legs. They will be slightly disappointed because they have high ambitions out there. Ballymore Eustace will be disappointed. Simple as that. Before this season, the three teams that came down from intermediate went straight back up because that was the strength of the teams coming down. Now this is the strongest junior championship it has been in a long, long time. I think we can all agree on that. I think we really think Grange were deserving winners, but you look at Rathcoffey, at Garvin, Kappa, I'm throwing Robertstown in there as well, Castle Mitchell, like there's not too much between those teams. At Garvin gave Grange a real rattle in that semi-final. I was talking to Pat Costello recently from Grange Nolvan, and he looked back at that game and he said, Tommy, at Garvin really gave Grange their fill of it in that semi-final. So listen, it's going to be a brilliant championship next year. St. Kevin's don't want to be in it, but they are in it, and they know that they should have performed better this year. But throw St. Kevin's into that championship, not a bad replacement for Grange Nolvan, in fairness, to keep the standard up. Next year is going to be brilliant.
There you go. Do you have the top scorers for the Town Cross Transport there? That graphic, Tommy, just so we have a quick look at that before we move along again.
Good question. I do.
While you're doing that, let's well, there we go. So Fionn Bergen. Who else? Fionn Bergen is top there. DJ Percival in second place, and Niall Murphy of Ballymore. Three brilliant scorers, and certainly showed there. But what was your overall impression, Tommy? Obviously, Fionn Bergen was the standout player there.
Yeah, Fionn has been the best junior player probably for the last couple of years. He really has, especially from an attacking point of view, he's head and shoulders above a lot of people. When I posted this online, I gave the biggest shout outs to DJ Percival. What a season he had for Rathcoffey, and he really stepped up, because there's over the years for Robertstown. Sorry, as I looked at it, but like over
transfer
the years,
hasn't gone through yet.
Not yet, no. But I was going to say the pressure on Brian Kennedy there over the last couple of years, because he is such a classy operator. DJ finally clicked a little bit more this year probably than he has in previous years. He showed that class that got him onto a lot of Kildare underage teams as well. But 329 from play, really super accurate forward. And for him, with his age at the moment as well, and Brian there and a couple other players like Danny Scully as well, who Danny made sure Danny could have easily been on 15. Danny made sure I knew he got an extra point that I didn't think he got in one of the games. He won't thank me for saying that, but I will always say next year when these score charts go up, if somebody thinks I'm wrong, tell me, and because I trust the person that tells me. So some great performances looking down through that list. I mean, you just look down through and you can see all the Grange players how they did so well. The other, like Conal Bergen. I mean, you're talking about players of the year, and Fionn is always the top scorer in the championship and the best player in a lot of people's eyes. You know that. But I mean, I'd imagine Conal won't be a million miles away from that conversation. What a season that man had from midfield. 121 from play. Yeah. I mean, some going. Most of the people above him, lads, are all forwards. So we're keeping an eye to see who gets that award. Hope I didn't do him any damage by mentioning that.
Well, speaking of teams of the year and all that, I suppose in the intermediate championship, the one player will fill two positions. Didier Cardonier will be in goals and in centre half forward as well.
When we made the team of the week, actually, for that after that quarter final, I had the graphic done with Didier as centre half forward, because he was in centre half forward the previous week against Round Towers, and I left him in. Yeah. And it was just when I was about to send it, I was thinking, oh no, he was actually the goalkeeper. Now I need another centre half forward, and I need to take out the goalie. Yeah. So all good stuff.
And there you go. And we have joint players of the year, senior players of the year, Barry Kelly and Austin Nevin. So you can take bets on that as well. So joint players from that one as well. Anyway, let's move along. What's going to happen?
I'm still working on your T-shirt, Pat. I'm still working on your Austin Nevin.
What's going to happen in Leinster? Maybe you just throw up that graphic, and we want to wish the three Kildare teams in football, and there's a two in hurling. Very best of luck. So that's what the Leinster Club Championship will look like, and that's the junior. So we're arranged there on that particular one. They play St. Bridget's of Offaly. Yeah. That's Saturday week at 1:15 p.m. in Cedarville in Condas Park. So Grange versus Bridget's of Offaly on Saturday week. That's in the AIB Leinster Junior Club Championship. And in the Intermediate Championship then,
up the top,
Salons will play. Where are they
Granger Ballon
Granger.
in double header, Pat, in St. Conleth's Park on Saturday week, which is
that's right.
absolutely
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's
Yeah,
brilliant.
that's right.
Again, fair play to Noel and the
brilliant.
lads getting that settled in. That's fantastic. It's very rare that you see these days, lads, to see that. So fair play.
That match is at 3:15.
That Carlo team that they're waiting there. That Carlo final finished the draw there last weekend, and that replay is on Sunday. So they're facing a 6-day turnaround into a game in the following Saturday against Salon. So as if whoever comes through that game between Grange and Ballon didn't have a tough enough test as it is, that's a 6-day turnaround that's going to make things very difficult for them once they supposedly celebrate their win. They will definitely have a winner on Sunday there in that game. But yeah, so that's maybe something that'll play into Salon's hands and help them a little bit to find their feet in Leinster.
Yeah, okay. And then the final AIB Leinster in senior championship. That's a big one, of course. It will be Athy will play in Auckland against Bolton Glass. Bolton Glass won their championship. I think it was the previous Sunday. So they won it quite well. So Bolton Glass versus Athy. That's on Sunday week, the 2nd of November it is at this stage. That's at 1:30 in Auckland, and at this stage it looks like Clubber will be covering that, but it'll depend obviously whether TG Carr covers it or not. So we'll be looking forward to that one. So best of luck to all three football teams, and indeed Naas and Clane in the hurling championship as well. I haven't seen those fixtures as yet, but we'll have them next week as well. And finally then,
Sorry, Pat, just to say, Kildare participant just in that championship, just want to say there, O'Loughlin as well, because they have Brian Lonigan of Monasterevin. They won their first county title there in 12 years, and I think actually their last county title, they might have played Athy in the Leinster championship, so they maybe will meet further down the line. But yeah, there was another Kildare championship winner there on Sunday as well with that victory from the Monasterevin man.
It's worth pointing out, Pat. It's worth pointing out, Pat, as well, that there's a real, if Athy can get over Baltinglass in Auckland, and we all know how difficult it is in Auckland. I know we'll discuss this more next week, but it is just worth people that are watching this as opposed to listen to it. The reward is a home quarterfinal, first of all, and then a home semi-final. So they know that because these matches are laid out all the way to the semi-final. And obviously there's the final will be home or away as well. But it's just worth to know that we could have, if things go our way this year, we could have a lot of interprovincial football in St. Conleth's Park to look forward to. So fingers crossed.
We look forward to it. We look forward to it indeed. I'm just about to finish looking at that by congratulating Noel McKenna and the CCC on a very well organised championship. And there's so many matches just in the championship and whatever, but all the other championships that are going on as well, from minor and the various grades there, the reserve championships, and now they're on to the under 23. So well done to Noel McKenna. Took over from Mick Mullen, who had done a tremendous job for the previous, 10 years, I think he might have been involved, and now he's chair, and Noel McKenna has taken over. So congratulations to all of them. We had minor finalists last weekend as well, lads, and what a cracker of a game it was between Naas and Maynooth in the, probably you'd call it the A final. That one looked like it was going down to, I think, extra time. Yeah, extra time in that one. But a late penalty by Ewan Cowser, that told the difference there, and they won on a scoreline of 116 to 3-9. And indeed, you score 3-9, you expect to I suppose, win a game. But Naas, they probably the first half performance by them, when they were quite well advanced at halftime, that probably just told them. But some great goals in the second half by Maynooth, and they really came back in. Paul Flood, Jamie Flood, the son of Paul, he came in and he scored a goal quite early on, and that made a bit of a difference. So, did you get a chance to look at it, Tommy or Ger?
Yeah, just cause I was there for it, but I was kind of working away. So I was only kind of half watching, certainly in the early stages of it. But you couldn't help watch the second half as Maynooth were coming back into it, because at one stage it looked like Naas were going to run away with it, but Maynooth were so dogged, and you mentioned the goals that gave them an opportunity, and then right into injury time, it looked like their opportunity had gone. When I think Liam MacDonald was quite correctly penalised, something that maybe he would have got away with it on another day, just trying to pound the ball into the net, but it was more of a throw than a palm, and when that went in, or when that was kind of penalised, it looked like Maynooth's chance had gone. But then they came back forward and got another goal. Josh Flood with it again. So yeah, they really put up a show. The celebrations there, Maynooth thought they'd won it, but there was still time for Naas to come forward and break their hearts. And yeah, just to kind of it emphasises, I suppose, that Naas certainly aren't going anywhere, in terms of their conveyor belt of young talent. That they have some serious footballers coming through, but Maynooth as well, they're doing so much right at underage level, and when a club is doing that, all those correct things at underage level, you think things have to click for them. The likes of Oran Bourne, Tom Power, they played in the senior hurling final the previous week for the club, and then in a minor final there, they'll be out in the minor hurling final as well. I think it's on Sunday week as well against Salbridge. So yeah, Maynooth's good benching for them. Carl Ennis was over them. Neil Flynn is on the sideline as well. So they have some great lads involved in their youngsters there. And although it hasn't quite maybe bore fruit in terms of winning as many titles as they would have liked, that they're doing a lot right, and they're bringing through some seriously talented players and footballers and hurlers. So yeah, they're going a long way down towards doing the right things. And yeah, you'd hope they get their reward at some stage.
Yeah, and the B final on Saturday evening, Tommy, that was a cracker as well. That resulted in Oliver Plunkett's winning it after extra time, 2-16 to 3-12. So looking at it, some familiar names on both teams. So well done to both Oliver Plunkett's and Nave Breed.
Yeah, and you have to say the value of these amalgamations as well. It's always up for debate. I know some teams, they'll amalgamate and then they'll realise that they have enough strength maybe to go off on their own, and then amalgamations change. We said last week, was it Eadstown used to be in Oliver Plunkett's as well? Or am I wrong there? So. Yeah, so it's Ballymore, 2 Mile House, and then I'm pretty sure it used to be Eadstown as well. Now it's just 2 Mile House and Ballymore Eustace. So the man of the match, Matthew Galvin, he's a 2 Mile House man. He was involved with that. You probably saw him playing on that. But the Naas CBS junior Leinster winning team last year.
That's right, and he came on Tuesday for the Naas CBS team against Rochford Bridge and set up the probably what you might call the winning goal, a great run from distance.
Yeah, so like these young lads, they're getting all they're getting the great tutelage in school, both in football and obviously education. But you see Nave Breed as well. I mean, that's Ellistown and Nerney, and they have. What they're doing to those younger players. I mean, they're not down in, minor E or minor F and kind of hoping to get over a couple of matches. They're coming together. Like, look at young Harry Donnelly. I mean, we already know all about him, and I think he scored 7 points or something like that at the weekend. What a super player, and that will only benefit him as well. Playing with these different lads, different types of coaching, playing with better players. I've always been a big fan of these amalgamations, and if teams do find themselves struggling at underage, it's definitely something they should look into. It's not an easy thing to do. Found out myself when I was younger when we attempted to amalgamate with an unnamed club, and it didn't happen at all. So because of rivalries and schools and stuff, but now by all accounts it's much easier done. And you can see the benefits that they're getting from it. So that looked like another cracking final. The minor championships this year, by all accounts, have been brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. So best of luck to all of those. And I'm sure Tommy Constantine, the new under-17 or minor manager for Kildare, will be looking at many of those players who are still eligible to play for him. And just before we leave that, let's pay a compliment to the match officials. Not only for the finals in the last few weeks, but also throughout the season. They did a great job, obviously coming in with new rules and all of that. Very, very few controversies, you'd have to say. And whatever controversies were there were probably caused by the teams themselves. But I can't recall any appeals or anything like that. Everything seemed to go well. So well done to everybody involved as a match official, whether you be in the middle, on the sideline, fourth official, or whatever they call it, is the sideline official or an umpire. Well done to all of them. Matches couldn't have happened without them, and there were so many matches indeed. And indeed, well done to the groundsmen, both in Seedress and Conless Park and in Mangard Park. Took a lot of punishment this year, but took a lot of matches as well, and looked very, very good on Sunday. So well done to the county board and everybody involved in all of that. A big weekend coming up as well for the off the pitch, Tommy. Maybe you just throw up that coaching graphic. There's a big coaching conference going on. Coaching for chaos. When will there ever be chaos on a Gaelic football pitch? but that's on this weekend, and looking forward to seeing many of those. Brian Flanagan is involved, Aidan O'Rourke and Davy Burke from the senior management team set up, and then on the hurling side, Brian Dowling and his sidekick Richie Ruth. So that's a good one, Tommy. Will we see you there?
No, but it's do you know what it is, lads? It's look at that. It's a tenner. Genuinely, it's a tenner for that. That's phenomenal. Look at those names. Look at what you get like for that. A day of it, 10:30 to 1 p.m. then 2 to 4. Get football and hurling. Get both of them in. In St. Conleth's Park as well, in the nice new surroundings. I think Richard said it as well. Richard brought it up a few weeks ago on this podcast, and he mentioned it. And he mentioned the fact that it was only a tenner. And if anybody interested in, because we know like that unpredictable nature of games and how a game model provides a framework for it, makes a lot of sense in the modern game, because there is a lot of chaos in the modern game. But I just think those names that are lined up there for it, that should be. I'm really looking forward actually to hearing some feedback from it, because I do know a couple of people that are going to it. There's a QR code there, but the link can be found on the Kildare GA website as well to get your tickets for it. Well worth it. Looks brilliant.
Well organised by the Kildare GA coaching and games team, and I have to say, well done to Noel Mooney. There he was on the Saturday evening as manager of St. Lawrence's. Obviously, there was disappointment that they didn't win, but on Sunday he was there on Seedwell St. Conleth Park, organising the as Lorraine Wolf keeps calling them, the stars of the future stars, and the day job didn't suffer just because he had a poor result on the Saturday night. So well done to Noel and the crew and all of those involved in the coaching and games team who are organising that coaching conference in Seedwell St. Conleth's Park on this Saturday. Go along, you won't be disappointed. 5 great coaches there, 5 great managers indeed in their own right. All right, Brother Bosco time, Tommy, is already upon us, and I think you have the graphic there for some of the Kildare teams involved. We saw it started off last Friday, with heavy defeat for the finalists from earlier this year, Ars Gulna Trinota. They were beaten by Pats of Navan, but better results on Tuesday, where Naas CBS had a victory, tough one indeed, over Rochford Bridge, and but Ars Gulna Trinota got back on the rails, I suppose, again, and they defeated Benildes of Dublin. That was also on Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely. You're on the sign down as that Naas game. Yeah, excellent win for Ars Gulna Trinota. And just 2 days after the county final, Ronan Kelly turned out, and after playing 45 minutes for a tie on Sunday in that county final against Naas, and all the pressure and that would have involved, and the physical exertions that would have involved, it was unbelievable really to see Ronan out on the field, and he just looked head and shoulders at times above anybody else. Himself and Callum Keaveney were the 2 standout players for Ars Gulna Trinota, along with Robbie Murphy, who's a Laois player from St. Joseph's as well. Those 3 were excellent, and yeah, they were far too good for St. Benildes. And I suppose they were hoping then as well, there was a result out of their hands there today. They needed St. Pat's, who had beaten them last Friday quite convincingly, to beat Moat today to send that down to a last game. So that came to pass. So yeah, it looks like Ars Gulna Trinota will play Moat in the final game. I think they have home advantage for that as well, so which would be a help. And that's basically a knockout tie. But yeah, Ars Gulna Trinota with Ronan Kelly back in tow. He obviously had missed that game against St. Pat's, was played last Friday in the build up towards the county final. So with him back in the side, they'll certainly hope they can go and beat Moat and get into the knockout stages and see how it goes from there.
Yeah, and Naas CBS under Ronan Joyce looked quite strong enough on Tuesday as well. They were missing quite a number of players who had played in the minor finals at the weekend. 2 of them came on, or 2 or 3 of them came on actually, as well as Matthew Galvin. Liam Kenny came on, and Niall McAndrew. They made a difference indeed. But Thompson and Riley up front, they certainly were the score getters, and it was a great goal by Riley just near the end, set up by Matthew Galvin. So Naas CBS, they will be much stronger for the second game in that. I think there's only 3 teams in that group. But on Thursday, there was no look for Sculwira of Clane. They were beaten, I think it was 2-12 to 16 points by Coláiste Owen of Dublin. And so Sculwira will be behind the black ball, I suppose, as they go into the next phase as well. But it's a great competition, Tommy.
Yep, brilliant competition. Not forgetting as well, obviously patricians are there every year as well. They unfortunately they suffered a defeat in the first round. Obviously, Kalash they were our super team. Mullingar are defending champions, so no shame in that. And also Eden Derry just came out on the wrong side of lost against good counsel. Obviously over the years Eden Derry has been a breeding ground for Johnstown Bridge and Clonrinco players. We could hear Daniel Flynn in his interview with your good self, Pat. Speaking about it. And last year, I think there was a couple of Jimmy Lynch was on the team from Clonrinco as well. They produced like Aidan Boyle and players like that. So it's always worth keeping an eye on them. Seemed like a very high scoring game. They came out on the wrong side of it again. 3 team groups are all, you just need that one win and see how you get on. So a little bit disappointing for them. Naas didn't have it their own way at all the other day, Pat, in Raheens, did they? I know you were doing the commentary, but that'll stand to them. I thought they were under pressure there for a while because St. Joseph's really looked strong. But to dig out a result there now could be really telling for them. As you say, considering the players, they have to come back.
Should mention Knockbeg College as well.
Saw the game as well.
Sorry, Knockbeg College, just when you're going through teams there as well, they will have their participants there. Knockbeg College will have normally a good pull from St. Lawrence's and Athy, and I think actually Conor Ronan was their manager as well. So yeah, they have a strong leaning towards Kildare there as well. They haven't played yet, have they, in that group yet? So I think they're due out maybe.
No, that's what I call. No,
they're playing
after the midterm.
I think all of the Bergens would have come through Knockbeg. I think.
Yeah, the Warriors there from Lawrence St. Lawrence's were there as well. So there'll be a few.
That's right.
Strong there.
Urhue from Carlo was with them last year. Super footballer. Is that his name? Yeah, it's the Carlo half forward.
John Peary is it?
Peary. I was thinking Urhue. I was kind of heard the name. He's
a big man.
I couldn't believe when I saw him playing for Knockbeg last year because I know he was playing for Aska, and that he was starting. He was on the Carlo team. I think he was on the Carlo senior team when he was 17. And then I saw him play.
Yeah, he played. I think his first match, I think, was against Kildare in the World Cup.
That's 100% correct. And he was really good that day. And I watched did I watch it on Club or was I can't remember. It was in Carlo IT and Knockbeg. And I saw the lineup and I went, no way. I couldn't believe he was still in school. He's going to be such a huge player for Carlo going forward. Super player. If anybody ever gets to watch him, he's fantastic.
All right, we're looking forward to all the Kildare schools doing quite well, and of course the Maynooth combined schools there will be involved. Perhaps if they get through their knockout stages, because they can come into the knockout of the Brother Bosco later on if they do well. So best of luck to all the Kildare schools, and we'll be looking forward to following them either through the Nationalist or on Clubber. Big weekend, of course, coming up for St. Lawrence's and Ballina. Ballina had a good win last week in the Junior Leinster LGFA Championship, Ger.
Intermediate.
Yeah.
They played the league champions, Great Cullen. So an excellent win. Probably a little bit of luck involved in their 2 goals really that killed the game off. They had started the game with a goal early on, got a goal again at a stroke of half time. They went in by those 2 goals ahead, 2-6 to 6 points. Then their 3rd and 4th goals came in the space of about 30 seconds. One a shot from out the field that dropped it over the keeper's head, and then another one from the wing that dropped over the keeper's head as well. But even though there was a bit of luck attached to those 2 goals, I think overall Ballina were excellent, and they saw it out then with a lovely point with 2 subs that had come on. Siobhan Hurley, the former Kildare footballer and camogie player, she come on with her young niece as well, Robin. The 2 of them only come on for the last maybe 2 minutes of the game, and Siobhan set up Robin for the last score for Ballina to send them through. They're already through at that stage anyway, but it was just a nice way to round things off. And they're a club who had great success at Leinster and national level as a camogie team. I'm not too many sure that they have too many of them that are still involved that would have played in those teams. Certainly Siobhan Hurley would have. But yeah, they've got some talented players, the likes of Erica Burke is there, Rachel Cribben, Leah Dorn in midfield. So yeah, they have a good side. Obviously now going out and away semi-final on Saturday is going to be tough on each side in this stage of the championship. Obviously, it's a pretty good team. So how they get on would be interesting to see. But they'll have to be a good team to beat Ballina because they've plenty of talent there, and they had good support there on Saturday as well. A really good crowd came out to support them in Johnstown Bridge on Saturday, and I'm sure a lot of them will travel on Saturday to get behind that team. They're a great club up there, and as I said, they had great success as a camogie club not so long ago, and it'll be great now to see them replicated with the big ball.
Yeah, they play Kilo of Longford in Kilo on Saturday at I think it's 1 p.m. Yeah, so it's not too far from Ballina down to Kilo. So get on your bike and away you go down there and support Ballina at AIB Leinster LGA Intermediate Club Championship. The senior champions, St. Lawrence's, Tommy, they face Milltown, and you saw the Larrys in the final. They defeated Eadstown, and some brilliant performances in that game from, let's say, the likes of the Wheeler sisters and a few others as well.
Yeah, to have to hang around a few weeks now to get to this, because obviously the junior intermediate competitions have been going on for a couple of weeks. But I wouldn't know too much about now Milltown and Westmeath. So they come into this championship. It's so difficult to judge this Leinster Senior Championship. We saw last year the strength of Kilmacud Crokes. I mean, they were in unbelievable form that day in Tullamore against Eadstown in the final. I know Eadstown had a couple of bad injuries before the throw-in. Obviously, didn't help matters. But Kilmacud are back in it again this year. Obviously, Dublin champions Dunshaughlin are there. I think from me, Tinnahealy from Wicklow, who we know all about, are obviously back in again. So listen, for Larry's to get over Eadstown, maybe Eadstown were winning all those championships and they're coming in without really getting a challenge over the couple of years. And that could have been caught a little bit. Whereas Larry's getting a dogged win out of Eadstown, finally knocking Eadstown off their perch and doing it so impressively. It could lift a lot of those players maybe to a level that they didn't know they had. So this is the first big test for them. It's brilliant. I'm pretty sure Larry's are also involved in the Leinster Junior Camogie Championship as well.
That's right. Yeah, they are on the busy weekend. When's that match there? The Larry's Camogie.
I think they have some dual players as well, don't they? So they'll have some girls who'll be playing 2 matches in 24 hours there, which is kind of a perennial problem for ladies footballers and camogie players at this time of the year. It always seems to raise its head. I think St. Lawrence's will have a couple of girls, more than a couple of girls, who'll be in action 2 days in a row this weekend.
So best of luck to Ballina and to Larry's in the LGFA Championship, the Leinster LGFA Championship, and to St. Lawrence's in the camogie as well. So that's look at the GA and LGFA and camogie. Sure. Looking at international soccer, then big weekend for the Irish ladies team. They play Belgium on the double. First of all, in Aviva on Friday night. Hayley Nolan of Kill and Crystal Palace in that squad, and it's delighted to see her there. She'd suffered quite a number of injuries, quite a number of setbacks, and out of favour there for a while. But she's back in now and vying for a place with all the retirements that have been in the last number of months, particularly in defence for the Irish team, and Carla Ward may very well look to Hayley to fill a few gaps.
Yeah, but she seems to have her confidence as the manager anyway, doesn't she? She's a regular now in that squad. So, yeah, as you say, that maybe that some of those retirees have opened up a gap that Hayley can take advantage of. She's playing regularly over in England, albeit Palace were relegated from the Premier Division last year. So, yeah, look, it's a big game for Ireland and the Aviva as well. So they're hoping to get a big crowd up there tomorrow as well to really cheer them on. It'd be fantastic to get a win there to set them up then as well for the next game too. So, yeah, definitely a big day ahead for that Irish team, and hopefully Hayley can play her part in it.
And a good weekend last weekend for Club Kildare. Well, what is it? The ladies team, they got through to the plate. Semi-final, is that at this stage?
Semi-final, yeah. It's one of the lower grades of competition, but they're, aside we mentioned a couple of times, they have had a tough year, with a lot of draws. Games were close to getting that first win. They finally got a first win in what was the last round of the group stages. So this was the plate competition, and a great excitement again. Then there they had a penalty shootout win over Cove Ramblers. So we're into a semi-final this weekend now with a home tie against CK United. So a local derby there, and that could be another big one for those girls. And they have a taste of a win now in the last couple of weeks, albeit one of them on a penalty shootout. So yeah, looking to continue that winning run.
And there's also a final in the KDFL this weekend, isn't there?
Yeah, in
the Kildare League. The Kildare League,
the Kildare League, the KDFL, yeah, down on the immaculately turned out, as always, Mallarney Park down there in Castledermot. St. Anthony's are taking on Kildare Town, in the Georgina Donnelly Premier Division Cup final. So Kildare Town have had a fabulous season this year under Fergal Finn. They've won that division, got to the Lumsden Cup final, put up a really good show by all accounts against Clonmullion. So they'll probably start favourites against St. Anthony's. But St. Anthony's won the promotion last year and the Division 1 Cup as well. So under Keith Powell there, he's done an unbelievable job in building that club up over the last kind of 10, maybe even 15 years at this stage. St. Anthony's are a hugely competitive side, finished mid-table in the Premier Division, so they're definitely an upwardly mobile side, but they probably need things to go their way if they're going to catch that very good Kildare Town team out on Sunday.
Yeah, great facilities down there in Castledermot, Tommy.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, Mallarney has always been up there. I mean, they hosted Sunderland one year for their pre-season training because they were scouting around. They found how good the pitch was. KDFL always reward them with Lumsden Cup finals. Unfortunately, it's been a lot easier to give them Lumsden Cup finals over the last number of years because they aren't in them themselves. But there really is a wonderful group down there, and the work they do on the pitch is just fantastic. It's always a great occasion when other teams come in, and I'm sure they'll welcome Kildare Town and St. Anthony's Youths with open arms. There's actually a sponsored walk-on in Castledermot on Sunday as well at the same time. So just give a heads up to anybody travelling to that game traffic-wise. There's a walk with Dara for Dara Kassan for Autism Dogs Ireland starting at 12:30. It's a very important walk. It's very good charity as well. If anybody's around, just thought I'd throw that in there because it really is close to a lot of people's hearts in Castledermot. So
well done. Rugby, Ger. Now, not when you mention rugby, whether it be interprovincial or club rugby, whatever they want to call it these days, or international rugby or Lions Tests, Tyburn is the only name you can think of, isn't it? He's having a great season, a great year, and still going strong. Had a brilliant performance again for Munster against Leinster, even though we're a Leinster-based podcast, But Tyburn, the Eastern man, did very well.
Yeah, sorry, Pat, just before we just leave the soccer there as well, just because we wanted to have a big local interest, because something that's going to be a big story, I think, in the coming weeks is this Irish under-17 team competing in the World Cup. I think it was announced that RT are going to cover their games as well, which start on the 5th of November, and there's big Kildare interest there with both two Noonans who come from the opposite end of the county, no relation, but Alex Noonan is the goalkeeper from Shamrock Rovers, and then Michael Noonan, who's probably one of the stars of the squad, and shows how grounded he is, that he was at St. Connor's Park there last weekend as a water boy there for the Ninth Breed side. He's an Ellistown.
He was he was number 30. He was number 30 on the programme.
Yeah, I think that he was never obviously going to feature.
I know, but it was just great to see it, wasn't it? It was brilliant.
James Lawler caught him there. James is a freelance photographer there and does a lot of work with us in the Nationalist. He got a couple of great snaps of him there, and he was very much involved in the side, and he would have played obviously for those, played a lot of those Nath Breed players coming up through the age ranks, but obviously his soccer commitments have got a little bit more serious in the last year or two, and he's a hugely talented player. We've spoken about it before, but that World Cup is going to be great to watch Ireland play in, and there's some other fantastic talent from around the country involved in it. But yeah, Michael is as good as anybody on it, and he'll be a big part for them. And hopefully Alex then can get the number 1 jersey between the posts. But yeah, again, sorry, that's a long way around going back to the rugby. But yeah, so those players were you'd like to Tyburn and Sam Prendergast just back off, I suppose, the Lions tour really now, and they're no sooner back in a Leinster or Munster jersey respectively than they're jetting off during the week there, I think, to isn't it next weekend that they played the All Blacks in Chicago. So yeah, and then 3 games back in the Aviva Stadium as well. Yeah, so right. The win from a few years ago. Yeah, so obviously Tyburn is just what a monster, what an absolute animal he is. I mean, you're talking about beasts of men, what a giant of a man he is, and great example to young players as well, because obviously it didn't go exactly as he would have liked at underage level or kind of a younger level. He didn't quite get the contract that he would have liked at Leinster, had to go over to Scarlets and kind of take the long route to the Irish team, and now he's probably one of Ireland's best players and one of the best players in the world, and a fabulous leader as well as a fabulous player. And as a kind of a Leinster people, I suppose it was good wrenching to see him against Leinster last week, as it always is when he plays against them. So it'll be nice to see him in the green jersey in the next 2 weeks so we can cheer him on again.
But just as an aside, Tommy, wouldn't it be amazing to see the likes of Tig, the Prendergast, Jimmy O'Brien, Osborne in the Kildare jersey, and obviously the Mangans as well. One of the brothers is playing for Salons, of course, but those fellas would have made a big difference. I think Tommy might be frozen at this stage.
I think.
But we'll have to keep.
You can still hear me.
Oh, that's all right. We can still hear you, but you look frozen.
The audio is fine. That's the most important thing. People don't need to look at me.
Okay. Wouldn't they be great players for Kildare?
Oh, sure, stop. It goes back years. Like, I mean, all the athletes we've produced, both soccer, athletics. I mean, think back to an interview somebody did with Jordan Murphy when he was with Leicester Tigers, and I'm pretty sure he said something like he'd love to play Gaelic football for Kildare or something before he had to stop playing. We have produced some fantastic athletes, so it's great to see the lads doing so well.
Adam Bourne was another one. Jeez, he would have been some phenomenal GAA player.
Yeah. That's right. He was unfortunate with the injuries.
The Mangans, they had a busy weekend at the Dara's parents because the two brothers, Dermot and Kieran, were playing for the Leinster A team in Belvedere in the A Interprovincial Championships on Saturday morning, and they made their way down to Cedar St. Collins Park to cheer on Dara, and Kieran was there as well. So, they're obviously sports mad fans. And
locally, rugby, a good win for Athy at the weekend. Kildare keep on winning, Jar.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Kildare came down division last year, so obviously you're kind of sight set on going back up and making short work of it at the moment. They started the season on fire, and the Athy, they had a first win of the season, and it was, I suppose, the weekend for Athy. Everything seemed to go right around the town of Athy, and rugby players made sure that they were able to celebrate with the GAA players with a win under their belts as well. So that's their first win of the season. So still pretty early in that season, only 3 or 4 league games in. That went right down to the wire last year in terms of the relegation battle with Athy before they obviously had that wonderful success in the Towns Cup. So still a long way to go in that season, only getting up and running really now. But to get that first one under the belt was important for the team. It was a hat trick for one of the Henry boys as well, I think, wasn't it? It was one of the Henry lads scored a hat trick tries. Yeah, so Oliver.
One of the Henrys was playing for. One of the Henrys was playing for. Art's going to know on Friday, probably on Tuesday as well. Yeah, that's right. That's right indeed. Yeah. No great luck this year so far in the season for our friends up in Leixlip in the basketball.
No defeat. They have a home game this weekend on Saturday evening there. Looking for that again, looking for their first win of the season. Under new management there, they've been hampered a little bit by an injury to soccer Tiernan, and obviously with basketball, when there's only 5 players on the court, if you lose one of your star players, you really feel the impact of it. And Sorka is a hugely talented player. Irish International has been one of the best players in the league for a number of years now. So to do without her for a new manager probably has been tough. I think she's back fit now as well. So again, Saturday evening, a home tie. They'll hope to get their first win. I think it's actually the new manager, his old club that they're playing on Saturday evening. So a little bit of torn loyalties there, but certainly that the Liffey Celtics need to get a win there. Flomax Liffey Celtics, they need to get a first win and get their season moving too.
Absolutely. Ger, every week we've neglected to refer to it, but what a great coverage in the Nationalist by Perry Williams of athletics in Kildare. I don't know how she does it, but she seems to be able to do it every week, and she covers all disciplines in athletics.
Yeah, she's incredible, isn't she? She takes photos as well. Yeah, she just have an absolute fount of knowledge. She comes up with unbelievable information there, and from clubs from all ends of the county and from all age spectrums. We had a piece of Bobby King there from saying Cocos had won a medal at the European Masters, right down to under 12s and 13s competing at cross countries as well. So Perry is a wonderful addition to the Nationalist. I think you brought her on board a couple of years ago, Pat, but she's been fantastic. She does a bit in Carlow as well, and she's just an absolute fount of knowledge for all Irish athletics, and we're lucky to have her kind of in this area to shine a light on, particularly the young athletes coming through, because I think she's been great at that, because there's such a vibrant athletic scene at underage level in Kildare, and to be able to have some of those participants in the paper has been wonderful. And that's probably all down to Perry, so she's definitely been a huge addition to the paper in recent years.
We'll be looking forward to plenty of activity from local athletes as the season continues. And she's a Kilkenny woman. And speaking of a Kilkenny person, the new manager of the Kildare Camogie team is none other than Rob O'Neill, who is from Ballyhale Shamrocks, and he will be assisted by Keith Hefferner of Maynooth and Laura Smullen of Straffan, and 2 more coaches are to be appointed. And then the backroom team will include Abuta Ratkevika in strength and conditioning. Apologies for stumbling over that one. Finbar McCarthy and stats and data analysis, and Aoife Timmins, the physio. So there'll be 2 more appointments to be made there as coaches, and we'll be talking to Rob O'Neill in the Kildare Nationalist next Tuesday, Ger.
Looking forward to having that interview there on Tuesday. Obviously, a new broom in there now with Kildare Camogie. We spoke with us in the past, and hopefully we can get the county champions Naas. They have their players involved as well. That would be a huge help for Robin, for as we said, the first job that he needs to do as Kildare manager, just to get those Naas players in and strengthen up the panel, and hopefully Kildare can have a really positive year and kind of move Camogie on in the county. There's so much work done at Camogie from underage levels and getting girls involved. So it is important, I suppose, that the county team is always the figurehead of all that, and very often, whether it be the men's football or ladies football, everything is kind of judged on the success or failure of the senior county team, and Camogie, I suppose, is no different. So if the senior team can get their act together, get those Naas girls involved and really strengthen up that panel, it certainly gives the younger players, I suppose, stars to follow and stars to try to emulate in the future as well. So it's a positive thing there as well. But yeah, new man, looking forward to reading your interview, Pat.
Yeah, well, Rob has been involved with Kildare Camogie at under 14, under 16 and minor, and they won the Leinster and indeed All-Ireland Minor B Championship was in 2023, so he certainly has the pedigree. He knows the players inside out, and he confirmed to me that he had got a positive response from the players who were unavailable for whatever reason last year. And a quick shout out to David O'Mahony, who was last year's manager, always very, very cooperative, always made sure that we got the information, and the leash man, I'm sure he'll be back in some other fold. Tommy, have you anything else to say to us, any nuggets before we sign off for this particular week and episode 11 of the Short Grass?
No, I think so. I don't think I have any nuggets. I will say as well, it's not just for the sake of saying something, but I thought there were some lovely tributes over the weekend to some members of the GA that passed away. So kind of before finals, I think one of them was Sean Gorman. Just to think about the tribute to him, such a huge member of Kappa, and such a huge supporter of Kildare. I think they had said as well they never missed the county final. Even last year when he was nil health. So I think when the club say these things, and then it's replicated in the stadium, people get to give their minute silence or a round of applause. I thought there was some nice ones over in the games over the weekend. So it was a nice moment to see.
Yeah, and Archie Moore of Carbery has also died as well last week, and of course Carbery are having their major gala dinner in the Laurels of Naas on not this coming Saturday, the following Saturday, the 1st of November. So we'll look forward to that. And of course, there was a big celebration in Clahorenco on last Sunday. Not Clahorenco, was it Clahorenco last Sunday? No. Who was it? Up the north of the county, they were 100 years. Broadford had a celebration last week. Yeah, they had a celebration, and Charlotte Burns, the president of the GA, was there. So congratulations to them as well. 100 years, as indeed Carbery are as well. And of course, don't forget the men from Moorfield. They had a 25th. I was going to say 25th wedding anniversary, but they had a 25th county final anniversary last weekend. And I think it was more than just a weekend. I think it was a quite a long one. And it's great to see so many of those players look so fit and well. And well done to Cian O'Neill, who's still involved in winning All-Ireland as well. He was there. I think he scored a goal on that particular day 25 years ago, Jerry. You were commentating on that one, were you?
I did. I had hair back then, yeah. I think I said last week, it's probably the first Jubilee side that I can actually remember playing against a good few of them there, that Moorfield team. But yeah, they by all accounts had a right celebration from Saturday through to early Sunday morning. I think they had an early morning breakfast and made their way down. And that's, I suppose, the first one of many for Moorfield in terms of the Jubilee one. But the first one will be extra special, and yeah, they really did enjoy themselves, I'm sure. But also to mention as well Allenwood as well, because they had their Oscar night out in Lawless Hotel on Saturday evening. I saw a few pictures. We'll have a load of pictures in the Kildare Nationalist on Tuesday. Johnny Doyle and co all looking very, very sharp indeed in their tuxedos. Johnny would make a nice James Bond there now. I think he was very well, looking very smart in his tuxedo. But yeah, one of the judges for their videos as well was none other than the former Kildare manager, and of course since who has become an All-Ireland winning manager, Kieran McGeeney. So he was giving his expert opinion on those videos. But those Oscar nights are brilliant. I mean, Murphy, I think, did it a couple of years ago. Was St. Lawrence's did one as well. Sarsfield, I think, have had them in the past, and they just look unbelievably good crack and raise huge amounts of money for the clubs as well involved. So, I'm sure they had a great time. But yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that looked like something else. We'll have lots of pictures of that now in the Nationalist on Tuesday.
Yeah, I think Johnny auditioned.
Pat was involved in one last year. He doesn't even know it.
Oh, was he?
A nation holds its breath.
Oh my God!
I was in one last year, Ger, and we did the van. As our program. And you know the famous scene where they're all in the pub watching the penalty shootout. So we weren't allowed to use George Hamilton's commentary for A Nation Holds Its Breath, Tom Off Day against Bonner. So I asked Pat to fill in, and he did, and he sent me what would probably be a better version. So we played it over the penalty shootout. We played Pat Costello's commentary on the shootout against Romania as we were all watching. We were watching it in the pub.
Tell George, I apologize, George. I didn't know this happened to me. I honestly didn't know. But I'm going
to find it. I'll find it and send it to you. It's brilliant.
Okay. Johnny, I think, auditioned for the Lone Ranger, but he didn't get the part. So, yeah, that's it. I think that's us finished for this week, lads. We've done it all. We've covered it all. And well done to everybody involved in the Kildare Championships of 2025. But there's still plenty more championships going on there, plenty more underage activity going on.
Pat, when you mentioned that, sorry, just jump in again. Sorry for interrupting you once again.
No problem.
When you mentioned
You're the boss. You're the boss.
Far from it. There's a huge game on Friday evening, and as well for anybody who's around and looking for a game to go to. Mangard Park, Naas via Athy Part 2, and the Reserve A final. And these games would be a really high standard. Like the players who aren't quite making the Athy and Naas sides are, still very, very good players. And there's definitely, certainly in Athy anyway, there was players named on the bench on Sunday that I don't think would have been used with half an eye on this game coming up on Friday evening. And we mentioned earlier as well, this is where Ross Bell and Conor Ronan cut their teeth as managers a couple of years ago with the reserve team and had good success there as well. So yeah, that should be a really good, entertaining game on Friday evening. And anybody who's near Mangard Park and wants to get over see a good game of football, that you won't be disappointed with that one, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, I think it was last year. Naas and Moorfield, Leopard, Eamon Callahan was playing for Naas.
Still kicking ball.
That was the A final, I think. He was just the standard in those. If anybody gets the standard is ridiculous. Some of these A teams would be well at home in the Intermediate Championship.
So that's Mangard Park on this Friday at 8 o'clock, is it? Or
8 o'clock, I think, yeah. 8 o'clock, I think.
Yeah. Get down. Yeah, you have plenty of time to get there and enjoy the match, and best of luck to both teams. And as I said, there's still quite a number of competitions going on, and then the under 23 competitions will start in hurling and football, and they're fantastic competitions. So we'll be here until Christmas Eve at least, I'd say.
November is always a busy month. You kind of think that things wind down at the end of October, but November really does round up when you say that. And Mick Mullen, I think when he was CCC chairman, it used to be always his goals be done and dusted, I think, by the 1st of December. And to be fair to them, they didn't very often go past that deadline as well. But yeah, there's a lot to cram in the next, maybe 5 weeks before the start of December, if that's to come to pass. But yeah, it's supposed to keep us all busy anyway, so we don't complain about it.
Well, as he used to say, was it New York never sleeps? Well, Kildare GA never sleeps either, because we'll be running all the way up to and probably including the first week of December and beyond. And let's hope the teams who are representing Kildare in the Leinster Championship will be there in January as well. So that's episode 11 of the Short Grass. I'm Pat Costello. Thanks to Ger and to Tommy. We'll talk to you again next week.